watching Bugs Bunny as a child, and at the end, the curtains draw, Bugs Bunny runs out and says, "That's all, folks."
Yep.
A lot of us put a lot of time into writing speeches. We think carefully about each word, and thanks to Denny, I also think very hard about my introduction. But sometimes we invest so much time in our introduction, in our speech, and we kind of let the ending, the conclusion of our speech just fall flat, which is a shame. Because that flat ending sometimes is the thing that people carry with them as they reflect on our speech. I'm here to share with you a few ideas that can help you improve the conclusion of your speech. 4 things add to an effective conclusion. 1, you want to achieve a sense of closure. 2, you want to summarize the points, the main points. 3, you want it to make impact. Give a punch. 4, it needs to take less than 5 to 10% of your speech, which means that maybe 15 to 30 seconds to leave that lasting impression. A little more detail. Achieve a sense of closure. Have you ever heard a speech and it gets to a point and you're thinking, that might be the end, that kind of sounds like the end. Is it okay to clap now? And the person says one more thing. A sense of closure. Some ideas for an effective sense of closure are, in summary, let me end by saying, in conclusion, to summarize the main points, to go over the main points that you brought out in your speech. What are the things that, the highlights of your speech that you would like people to remember? Make an impact. Some ways to make an impact are with quotes. Less than 5 to 10%. That's not a lot of time. That is not a lot of time. But it can be done effectively. Paul did a wonderful job with his conclusion. We weren't left with any doubt as to whether he had ended his speech or not. Closing techniques. When you, when you use a quote, such as "I have a dream," Bob brought in a reading for us last week as an educational focus, in which he highlighted Dr. King's speech, "I have a dream." Now, no matter where you live, even outside of the United States, a lot of people are familiar with "I have a dream" speech. We may not know all of the words in between the beginning and the end, but that line has stayed with us. It has impact. And when we use quotes, often they add authority to what we have to say. Using stories. Thank you for your compliment, Rebecca. I have found that stories work well for me. I'm passionate about history. And one of the reasons I'm passionate about history is because history to me is just one big story. And I love a good story. And it pains me when people don't like history. But in part, that is because there's no story. They have not experienced the story. They have experienced facts.
Yeah.
And that is where you can lose your audience when you present a chain of facts versus a story, something that they can hold on to mentally. When you call for action, be very clear. Be very clear. Well, I think it's a good idea to go out and mentor somebody. Okay, a good sentence. But how about, as you leave today, if you believe that mentoring is a good thing to do, find someone to mentor. If you have benefited from mentoring, go out and find someone. If you think it's important, then find someone who can teach you to be a better mentor. Now you know what I expect from you, or what I'm encouraging you to do. Ask a rhetorical question. When you ask a rhetorical question, you partner that question with your speech. And as people reflect on your question, they're also reflecting on your speech. Refer to the beginning of your speech. Lasting impressions. Often we've heard first impressions are lasting impressions. And yes, when you meet someone, that is very true. But when it comes to speaking, last impressions are the lasting impression. Summarize your point. And be clear about your summary. What are the things that you want people to take away from what you're saying? Don't let all of your hard work invested in an excellent speech fall flat. Remember, last impressions are lasting impressions when you speak.